The Jets news continues to pour in. On one hand, Mason Taylor, massive update on his neck injury situation. Garrett Wilson gets shut down for the year. Jets Saints is tomorrow. We've got a lot to get to. Let's go.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets. We're built for this shit.
Welcome to Boy Green Daily, everybody. I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. And we're talking Jets here, baby. We do it every single day here on the channel. I want to give a shout out to the people that watch us live every single morning at 7:30. That's on Facebook at BoyGreen25, YouTube at BoyGreen25, Twitter at BoyGreen25, and of course, the people that watch us YouTube show on the replay. We appreciate that as well. And the audio-only versions wherever you get your podcast. By the way, I will be honest. I took some sort of sick pleasure in watching Jake Paul get knocked the fuck out last night on Netflix. Anywho, stupid people get stupid things happen to them. That's for sure. But that was great. Ba-boomska! Right in the sixth round. It would have ended a lot earlier if he didn't run around all over the place. But this is a Jet show, not a boxing show. So without further ado, let's bring in my special cohort for today's festivities. A lot of Jets news to get into. Hop on Pop joins us here on the show to kick things off. What's up, Father? How are we?
Hey now, Coffee Club. Good morning. Stupid people win stupid prizes. Nothing pleased me more than seeing that punk-ass bitch get knocked out.
Yep, and he did confirm this morning that Mr. Joshua broke his jaw in two places on both different sides. So they show the x-ray in it. And you could also see it after the fight. Jake Paul opened his mouth and showed it to the camera. His teeth were rearranged. The jaw part was broken, and his teeth were no longer straightly aligned on the jaw. Oof, that sucks. And now he's going to take a little break ski, he says, which sounds about right. But he says he's not ending his boxing career, that there's more to come. So, and he will be a future champion, he says. We'll see if that is indeed the case. I guess there's 1 million belts in boxing, so it could be possible. But
yeah, but I mean, is a platform shy of his own, right? Is a platform. Boxing is like what they really need to do is the most convoluted with a number of belts and this and that, this promoter and that promoter, and it's just a shit show. But I think shy of some, they'd have to drum it up like WWE to get some interest. Because although I guess there'd be some interest in people that dislike him, like us, to watch him get his face bashed in again. But
yeah. Well, I would also throw this one in. I don't know how many people watch the whole card, but I guess I didn't Google to see what the card was. So I just randomly, I was going on Netflix or something. I said, oh yeah, the thing's starting. All right, let me just tune in. And Anderson the Spider Silva's 50-year-old ass was on the card. And I was like,
I didn't watch it.
Oh, so don't spoil it then?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
No,
well, so I tuned in. I'm like, what the hell? Anderson the Spider Silva, what the hell is he doing here? And he's facing off against Tyron Woodley. And I guess the reason I didn't hear it is, yeah, I know. That's what I said. I was like, holy friggin' crap. I guess the thing that I didn't hear is Anderson was supposed to face somebody else. And on 3 weeks' notice, they said, Tyron, would you do it? He said, sure. And he jumped in and Anderson knocked him out. And I was like, holy crap. So, yeah, you'll have to watch that one after, Pop.
Either one of those would be 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, would have been the headliner fighting anybody. Fighting each other would have been like a July 4th event, which is when the UFC Super Bowl is, right? Mm-hmm. Them fighting each other. I'm glad Anderson Silva won. I mean, he never really was the same after his leg turned into the linguine noodle, which was horrifying.
Which, by the way, so like after fights, they're like, oh, who do you want to call out next? So two things happened. Anderson the Spider Silva announced that he's going to be joining the police force out in somewhere out there in California. And I was like, what? I'm like, oh, man, I'd hate to be a burglar doing something bad. All of a sudden, Anderson the Spider Silva shows up. I'm like, what the hell? So that happened. And when he was asked after the fight, like, who do you want to face off against? You mentioned Noodle Leg, which was Anderson, and Chris, as it turned out, with a cruel twist of fate, he called out Chris Weidman and says, let's do it in the boxing ring. So we'll see if we get that would be the triplet, I suppose, of their matchup. So yeah, we could get a little bit of a Chris Weidman action. So yes, guys, you guys should, with the power of Netflix, you can fast forward through anything you don't want to see on the card. So feel free to do that, I suppose. But yeah, so some random boxing action happening there on the program. So wanted to get some of that in. But yeah, let's get to a variety of Jets news and nugget items here, Pop. First off, let's go to Mason Taylor. And anytime you're dealing with a neck, that is an incredibly scary situation. And I try to read in, I don't try, I guess it's just what happens of reading into things. On Wednesday, Aaron Glenn immediately ruled out Mason Taylor because of this neck thing. And a lot of people are starting to go, oh boy, is this like a super serious thing? Like, what other reason would you immediately rule someone out? You don't even give them a chance to go through the week of practice. And yesterday, Aaron Glenn was asked about that. And he says that he fully expects, basically, Mason Taylor to be back next week. There's 2 more games to go after the Saints game, and he's going to be back. So that's good for Mason from a long-term health thing because, again, he's just a kid. He's 21 years old, for goodness sake. And so that's good. But the other thing is cool. We'll get to see Mason through the final 2 games of the season. So it sounds like the Jets dodged a major bullet here, Pop.
Yeah, and, I'll just tell you, neck injuries, shy of stingers – you don't really hear of neck injuries, and when you do, it's normally like the rest of your career you're like, ugh. Like, is this like going to recur? And if it does, that's no bueno. So hopefully it is something that is passing. But the neck is a serious thing, right? There are many good NFL players that their career ended. They tried to come back from a neck injury. So I'm not saying that or wishing that for Mason Taylor, but you definitely gives you a pause. Right, you blow out your ACL. Well, there's a clear path back. It sucks, but there's a clear path back. If it's a significant neck injury, right, you go to not to Michael Irvin's career ended on they discovered it's very. Anyways, neck injury serious. I'm glad he's going to be able to come back and play. And unlike someone else we'll talk about in a minute, I think it's the right thing for him to come back and play as long as there's no concern with a recurrence.
All right, let's get a membership in real quick. Hey now, we've got NY Jets 2824, which I believe is our buddy Joshua Langley gifting a Boy Green Coffee Club membership. Let's friggin' go, baby. That membership went to Frank. New member to the Boy Green Coffee Club. So shout out to Joshua and the lovely Cecilia for both of you guys getting some Boy Green Coffee Club membership action here on the program. If I do have this correct, I believe that is your first membership of the month. So thank you guys very much. And we'll reveal our raffle prizes here in a little bit. So thank you guys kindly for getting some of that action in. The other thing I wanted to say on Mason Taylor real quick, Dad. So it's his season is probably not over. According to Aaron Glenn, he's probably going to come back next week. But let me give you his stats, and then you just sort of give me a thumbs up or thumbs down and a quick explanation. Like, what was his rookie season? Was it like, wow, impressive, or all right, or underwhelming? So you can just give it to me. So here are the stats for Mason Taylor so far this season. Again, he is expected, it sounds like, to play in the final 2 games of the season, but let's just see. He appeared in 13 games this year. He made 11 starts. He had 44 catches for 369 receiving yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah. I think he had, if I was going to pick his, say, if I put a label on his season, I don't want to overplay an okay season. I was going to say underwhelming, but I think that's overplaying it a little bit. So it's on the edge, but I think it's okay. Like, it doesn't make you regret the decision, but you think it could have been better. And then let's be, the debacle at the quarterback position, you can't ignore that. So I think he could have produced more. I think and that's some on him, some on the Jets offense, some on this merry-go-round of quarterback. So that's kind of where I land. I still I will not say that if we could stack up stats with someone that I recommended the Jets sign, that it would be a different measuring stick, but so I won't say that.
I appreciate you resisting the urge. I know how difficult that is for you. Yes, I would end up in the same boat. I think Mason had a very solid year. I don't think it was overwhelmingly impressive. There's still 2 games left to pad the stats, but it was solid. It doesn't make me regret the pick at all. I'm very encouraged. There's a lot of promising signs. But I also wanted to work this in real quick. Mason actually has a chance at some Jets rookie tight end history if he's able to come back for the final 2 games pop here. I love looking up these history nuggets. So the Jets rookie tight end that has the most receptions in franchise history is our boy Dustin Keller. He had 48 catches in 2008. So Mason, if he gets 5 catches over the final 2 games of the season, he will be the new leader. Now, in fairness, in 2008, they only had 16 games. Now they have 17, so factor that in. But Mason also didn't play in all the games either, so that maybe equals it all out of games played, because if he ends up playing in the final 2, he still will only have appeared in 15 games this season in a 17-game season, so it is a little bit more even, Steven, there. So the catches is something he could totally get. I could totally see him getting 5 receptions. These next 2 stats, not sure if it's going to happen. Pete Lamons holds the Jets franchise record for most receiving yards by a rookie tight end. In 1966, he had 565 receiving yards. The most touchdowns by a rookie tight end ever is a tie. It's between Lamons in 1966 and our boy Chris Herndon in 2018. Both had 4 receiving touchdowns in their rookie season. So in other words, Mason Taylor would need 5 catches, 197 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns to reset all of those records. I think that's unlikely, but he could get the reception one, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what records are we talking about? This isn't like Emmitt Smith's rushing record, right? It's the Jets rookie tight end. That's not an infamous stat. And I tried to avoid this, I can't. But I would just say the tight end of my selection also had a debacle at the quarterback position and still managed to shine bright like a diamond if the Jets had selected him. Because let's talk about it. Mason Taylor was essentially an expanded first-round pick, right? He was at the top of the second round. And so that's why I said
42nd overall.
Even though he's going to set all these Jet records for rookie tight end, that's why he's on the edge of underwhelming.
I didn't have it on my bingo card this morning that my father would be quoting Rihanna, but here we are. Here we are. So, okay, I wanted to get some Mason Taylor action.
Hey, now, by the way.
Yeah.
Take that like button to Pound Town.
It's a great suggestion. That's a free way to contribute to Boy Green Daily. We've gotten a surge of new subscribers, so I'm very thankful for that. So thank you guys so much. You guys have really seemed to be enjoying my YouTube shorts where I give you sort of 60 or 90 seconds on a random Jets news topic that may be coming up. So I'll try to do more of that. It seems like you guys are really vibing with that. So I'll continue to do those kind of takes as well. Also, things we love to see is, hey, look at this. More memberships being gifted. Our number 1 Austrian Jet fan, baby. Jets Johnny, appreciate you. Thank you very much. And by the way, that is 24 raffle tickets for our number 1 Austrian Jet fan so far. Thank you kindly. All right, Pop, let's get to another news nugget here for the New York Jets. Officially yesterday, they shut down Garrett Wilson. So a lot to unpack here on Garrett Wilson. He ends up only appearing in 7 games so far this season due to multiple knee injuries. The majority of his stats he was able to get in 5 of the 7 games, because the 7th game he didn't have a catch. It was the first time in his career that had ever happened. And then in the 6th game, there wasn't really a lot happening in that one either. So he was on pace before all the injury issues for the best year of his career. Over 100 catches, basically 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. Unfortunately, now with all the injuries and everything, he has now had his worst season of his career in both receptions, yards, although his touchdowns are not a career low. He already got more than he had in a previous season. So they shut him down. They're going to get him ready for 2026. AG says he will be ready for the spring OTAs, so that's encouraging update to hear completely. The question I'm sure on a lot of people's minds, Pop, is this the right decision by the Jets? They had 3 games left in the season. It would have been cool to see Garrett Wilson back out there for sure. A very talented player, just got paid a lot of buco bucks. He's the highest paid player in franchise history. So I'm sure a lot of people would have loved to see him. But they decided to shut him down, and that means, of course, he won't be activated off of injured reserve. So his season is officially over.
Yeah, so a whole bunch of things here, and I would say that his stats that he was on pace to set as the best season ever can't go unnoticed, and because you look at it with the situation that the Jets had at quarterback, with the fact that in several games, you go to the Cowboys game, they didn't throw the ball to him until the game was over. I mean, you go back and look, I think it was halfway through the second quarter when they tried to throw the second pass to him. I mean, like, what the are you doing? That's like stupid, right? You've got to get. And so at that time, it was like 30-10. The second time you throw the ball to the best player on your offense, like what? So you take that all into account, and then you look at the fact that he was on pace for his best season of his career. And again, and except Aaron Rodgers, right? He hasn't been, John, you had a good quarterback. So 100%, 1,000%, this is the correct decision. You look that he tried to come back in the same game that he came back, and I can't remember what game it was. He re-injured that knee or hammy or whatever it was. And, shut him down. There's no reason. This is completely different than the tight end. Completely different in that, there is a risk of re-injury. Why would you bring him back? You know what you have. He's the highest paid player on the Jets history for a reason. And if he got hurt permanently or, something that would require rehab in the offseason, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? 100% the right decision to shut him down. And I'm probably, based on what I've seen of Garrett Wilson, he probably was upset about getting shut down. Probably wanted to get out on the field. So anything else would have been stupid. Shutting him down, 100% the right decision.
Yes, he initially hurt his knee. It was a knee injury. He initially hurt his knee in week 6 in Denver. He had to eventually get placed on injured reserve ahead of the New England Patriots game. So he's out for basically a month of football. He came back for the Browns game where the Jets did get a win for Garrett, his only win of the season that he was active for, unfortunately. And he re-injured his knee in that game. And then that's the last we saw of Garrett Wilson, unfortunately. So, yeah, I agree. I think it's right to say, selfishly as a Garrett Wilson fan, and I'm staring at his autographed jersey over here hanging up, that I would have loved to see him because it's a pleasure under any circumstance, whether it's playoffs or just a random game, to see Garrett Wilson don the green and white is exciting. So I would love to see it from that perspective, but it's a long-term play. And also I think it's to what you just said. We know what Garrett Wilson is. It's not like there's an evaluation of Garrett Wilson. You've paid him the money already. So Garrett is on ice. You know what he is. But what we don't know is there a capable Robin to his Batman? Is there some other level of the Avengers here? It doesn't have to be a wide receiver 2. Can someone prove to be a wide receiver 3, a wide receiver 4? Okay, great. Now that target share where Garrett was getting fed a lot, which led to what was supposed to be a career season he was on pace for, Adonai Mitchell, Arian Smith, if he gets opportunities, John Mechie III, Mason Taylor when he comes back for the final 2 games, you can really see what you have there. So that's a silver lining, sneaky benefit to Garrett not being there. When Garrett's on the field, you're supposed to be featuring him. It doesn't always happen, as you pointed out, but you're supposed to be featuring him. With him off the table, that's a 30% target share that's getting spread out to everybody else. So hopefully that's a good sign. And hopefully while Garrett's away, the Jets can find a quarterback, both short and long term, because I think both of those questions need answering there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was reflecting when I heard that Garrett got shut down, and I can go first or second. I'll leave it up to you. How do you feel about the bam in the offseason, right? Sign Sauce, bam, sign Garrett, bam. So now fast forward, 4 or 5 months later, how do you feel about it? Because I have a distinct opinion on, were they the right things? Did the Jets make the right move with the paying the players? So I'll turn it over to you for your thoughts.
Yeah. And so I try to consume a lot of Jets content throughout the week. And one of the things I consume, try to every week, is the Flight Deck podcast that is hosted by ESPN's Rich Samini. On his podcast, he said he went on this rant. Rant sounds like it has connotation. He had this conversation about Aaron Glenn. He says Aaron Glenn's clearly not getting fired. I don't know where any of that noise is coming from because that got brought up this week that there's a chance he could be fired. He says he's not going to get fired. However, he's made a lot of mistakes. He brought up, he believed Justin Fields was the guy. He's not the guy. He believes Steve Wilkes is the guy. Another storyline we haven't got your thoughts on. We can get to that later. Steve Wilkes gets fired. So he made that mistake. And then he brought up this contract thing and said, they signed Sauce and Garrett to these record-breaking deals. And then a few months later, he changed his mind and trade Sauce. Like, wow, look at all these mistakes. And I agree on a Steve Wilkes and Justin Fields mistake. I have no denial for that. How could you possibly deny that? Justin Fields was clearly in error. And Steve Wilkes, while, again, I explained this to Woody the other day, I think it was the right church, the wrong pew. I think getting a veteran defensive coordinator that's done it before wasn't a bad choice. The person was the bad choice. You got that wrong. So don't be afraid as you're looking for your next DC. Don't be afraid of going with another experienced person that's done it before. I'd have no problems with that. Just hopefully you hire a better guy to be able to do it. So those two are mistakes. I can't deny that. But the extensions, I don't think were mistakes because here's how I see it playing out. We'll never know if this is true. But the Jets go bang, bang, to your point. They extend Sauce Gardner and they extend Garrett Wilson. And both those deals are the two largest deals in Jets franchise history. And Garrett's still here, but Sauce ended up trading a few months later. I think it was the right decision to pay those guys during the offseason because the Jets had a brand new regime, of course. AG was in his first year. Darren Muji was in his first year. And they talked about keeping their own and setting a tone that if you do things here, we're going to reward you. So to have the opportunity for the first time in both of their respective careers, the Jets were allowed to pay them. After you get past your third year on a rookie contract, your teams are allowed to extend you. They don't have to, but they're allowed to extend you. So for the Jets to proactively say, boom, boom, we don't have to do this, but we are going to do this. Hey, rest of the league, rest of the locker room, look at us. We're willing to pay our guys. That's not a problem. They paid Jamie Sherwood. They paid Sauce. They paid Garrett. Like, we don't mind paying players if they show that they can do it. So I think that was an important message to send. And sure, a few months later, you trade Sauce, but it's not like you traded Sauce because it was like a Jamie Sherwood situation. You paid him, and he was so terrible, you just had to get rid of him. That, I think, would have been a mistake and looks terrible. But you gave him up for a king's ransom, and Darren Muji had some smart contract negotiations where the Jets weren't stiffed with some massive dead cap hit. Quite the opposite. The way they set it up, the Colts are the team that's going to be stuck with the dead cap hits in the future or the money to deal with. So I don't think the contracts were a mistake. I fear that if the Jets didn't extend either of them and they just played out the year, because again, they had the rookie team control to do that if they wanted to. They didn't have to pay them immediately. They weren't going to be free agents next year. I think that there could have been a real possibility. The Jets started the season 0-7. Garrett Wilson could have demanded a trade. Sauce, I feel less certain that he would have demanded a trade, but with everything going south, who knows? If you don't get paid, how do they react? But I think it was likely. We heard the Garrett Wilson rumors in the offseason. So that's what I fear. And okay, the Jets don't have to acquiesce to trade demands, but it would have caused a lot of drama around the team. So I don't think it was a mistake to pay them. Good for Muji. They got a massive deal, and he didn't stick us with a dead cap bill. If we would have been, or if our cap would have been destroyed, I might have felt differently about this on the Sauce thing, but they didn't. So I'm cool with it. I don't think that's a mistake.
Yeah. So I'll start with, right. I'm very impressed with the Muji era as it has started. Election at the time, the contracts are structured in a way to be successful any which way but lose. And what do I mean by that? So they weren't necessarily, didn't put themselves as having to pay the highest position, the highest paid player at those respective positions, knowing that as things matriculate, yes, you're going to have to seemingly overpay, But in the long run, then as the wave of re-signing of wide receivers continue, Garrett's going to end up about where he should be, which is, top 15 highest paid players. So the amount was right in the contract. I would tell you, in hindsight, did Muji always have the vision that he was going to trade one of them? And maybe he always knew which one it was going to be, the way they structured the contract, the bait and switch. So I would say, there was 100% the right thing to do. It put the Jets in a great position contract wise to trade Sauce, and then the subsequent trade with the Cowboys. Draft capital, is amazing, and it really feeds into it itself, right? The reason players demand and hold out and do the things that they do is exactly what happened to Garrett Wilson, right? I want to get paid now because I need the guaranteed money because I could get injured. So I don't regret, and I think the Jets 100% made the right decision re-signing Garrett. But what would have his contract if they didn't sign him and he was on the roster and then he only played the games he did? What would his contract look like now, right? If they had to re-sign him this offseason. So all the way, all around, good decisions, no regret there. But it was definitely something to consider as his season's over, Sauce is over. It's a much different situation than we were looking at 5 or 6 months ago. But 100% the right thing to do and the right pay. And Muji, in my opinion, especially with all the things they're the most active team re-signing their players that I'm aware of in the NFL, is really he's really killing it.
Yeah, I would say the only follow-up there, and maybe I'm gonna be wrong about this, because like, Jermaine obviously didn't get paid this past offseason. I think a big reason was obviously the torn Achilles and the uncertainty, and they had time, to figure it out, so they didn't. So if we go into this bizarro world where Garrett doesn't get extended, he gets hurt in the same way, and now we're like, "Now what do you do?" I still think that the Jets extend him, and it's probably still decent money because, like, the example that comes up in my mind, and not everything is a one-for-one Apple comparison. Kirk Cousins blew out his Achilles and got paid $180 million by the Atlanta Falcons. And why from him being hurt and the recovery of it, and they still that didn't seemingly affect his price whatsoever. And they were the only team really bidding for him. Minnesota, I guess, was lukewarm on the contract. So and he was a straight up free agent, which is interesting. So I'm curious if Garrett still would have been able to fetch that fair number of what ends up being back end top 5 highest paid wide receiver money, because again, the potential upside and all that stuff. I'm curious if one injured season, because that's the other thing I don't think we appreciate it, and pour one out for Garrett here. I didn't even get a chance to write it in the piece. Garrett Wilson had never missed a game in his NFL career until this season when he missed a game. So he had been absolutely available. One of the most overlooked things in sports is availability, and he's just always been available, no matter what he's been dealing with. And this year was the straw that broke the camel's back, unfortunately. And he ends up only playing. He will only play 7 of the 17 games, but still, it's good to know that Garrett is locked in for the future. Again, if I wanted both, of course. When they extended both, I was excited for both. But if both were hanging off the edge of a cliff, and that's before this season, and I had to pick one to save, it would have been Garrett because of what his impact is on whoever the quarterback is. Sauce could be the greatest corner of all time. He could be primetime Dion on the other side, that could be great, but like that has nothing to do with the quarterback or anything. And so that forever, I don't think restricted his value because again, there's plenty of teams that win the Super Bowl that have really good corners, but for your money and what the impact and ripple effects are and what that has on the rest of the team, it just feels like at this moment in time, and maybe of all time, that a wide receiver, especially the one where we believe what Garrett can be, is just so much more impactful than a corner, regardless of the money you're paying there.
Right. Yeah. Actually, Sauce Gardner draws a lot of parallels with Deion Sanders. Neither one can tackle. That Deion has, obviously.
Yeah, there may be something to be said for that. Sorry for any technical difficulties. I know we have a slight delay between me and Pop here, so no worries, folks. Apologies for that. Pop, what there's we obviously have the Jets Saints game tomorrow, but there's I think there's one other item that you wanted to get into before we got there. So please.
Related to the signing of Hendon Hooker, right? They're really taking the opportunity to really, I would tell you, what did you know about Brady Cook before he was signed, scraped up off the undrafted free agent list? Nothing. But you look at Hendon Hooker, right? He was a Heisman and the Heisman finalist. I think that's and what they're doing when they're re-signing this player here and this, they may seem like small things, but they're big things in the aggregate. And I would tell you that Hendon Hooker is 100% an opportunity for the Jets going into next season to have a backup. And who knows, right? Who knows what you have? But so I think that was a great signing. Adrian Martinez was never a long-term solution. So thank you for your for stuffing a shirt on the sidelines for a week or so. But Hendon Hooker, that's an exciting sign for me. That he brings a lot to the table. I ever watch his games, right? So I think that was a great signing, and then all these re-signing these lower tier players to a long term contract to really shore up the back end of the team. I think Muji again back to Muji is doing great in that area.
Yeah, I'll give credit. Pop's going to say this in a second. So the Jets signed Hendon Hooker. We did a YouTube short on it. Yeah, talented player, former third-round pick, highly touted guy. Would have went much higher. He tore his ACL in his final season at Tennessee. He was in the Heisman conversation. A talented player, spent his first 2.5 seasons with Detroit, got cut ahead of final roster cuts in August, and then he ended up joining the Carolina Panthers practice squad for the last couple of months up until now. The Jets scoop him up here. Now, AG explained the reason why they signed Hendon. Basically, it sounds like it was for an emergency situation. Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields have been banged up this week. Brady Cook's a starter who's going to be playing QB2. It looks like, by the way, based on the latest nuggets from the injury report, Tyrod will be healthy enough to be the QB2. He does have a new injury he's dealing with, too. So he has a knee and a groin situation. And but he was a full participant in practice yesterday. So it looks like he will be the guy. I'm sure we don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, Pop, but we didn't know who was going to be the QB2 earlier in the week based on everything that AG had said, and we'd play it out and see what happens. Justin Fields at his locker, apparently, media members approached him and said, like, what do you think of this week? He's like, I don't think I'm going to be able to play. Like, again, just the way that it was reported and he phrased it just sounded like he sort of like, tapping the canvas of saying, "Nah, I'm good. I don't think I'm going to be available." So again, that's drawing a lot of eye rolls from the Jets fans when they see those comments on social media.
Yeah, the Justin Fields experiment is over. I'd even make him inactive for the rest of this season. Just yeah. You know what? That locker, just clean it out, right? Thanks for showing up, and but no thanks. Take the rest of the year off. That's what I think the Jets should do, right? There's avoid the contract, just end it. Like nip it in the bud, move on. Let's let Tyrod Taylor's broke ass. Hendon Hooker gets in practice. You do a few extra series on the first teamers. Bring him out on the field. You don't to test the waters and what the right thing to do is to have Tyrod not see the field as you're breaking the glass. You don't want to hurt Tyrod, but Tyrod would be the emergency quarterback. I 100% give Brady Cook a fair shake, and then see why not? What do you have to lose, right? So, and especially, I think they decided it's very odd. If you think about the last season, that we were unaware of, but Arian Smith, like, what are they doing? Maybe they see things
Oop, we lost Pop there. His signal cut out. We'll try to get him back here in just a moment, folks. But yes, again, I know. I know Taylor Sterling in our audience. I see him in our comment section. Has been a massive Justin Fields truther, a massive Justin Fields trooper. Let me bring up some of this. Let's see. Let's go to Taylor Sterling here. He says Fields has done everything AG asked him to and never threw anyone under the bus. He is coming back as the number 2 next year. Taylor Sterling, he is absolutely not coming back as the number 2 next year. He's refusing to be the number 2 now. His injury is knee soreness. Taylor, I don't know what the reasoning or explanation or anything you can provide on his literal injury is knee soreness, which, by the way, is not a real injury. And he is saying, so this mysterious knee soreness popped up as soon as he became a backup. That's interesting timing. Then all of a sudden, he has a chance to be the number 2 this week. And he's like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be up for it. Like, it's just really sending some odd eyes. It's just sending some odd stuff. Taylor Stewart said faking an injury. I mean, do I have knee soreness? I don't know. I don't put out a Boy Green Daily injury report before the show. I don't know. Do I have knee soreness? Yeah, I guess. I don't know if he's making it up. Sure, maybe his knee sore. I don't know. We're at the end of a football season. I'm sure a lot of people's knees are sore. I don't freaking know. So I'm not sure if I don't know if I initially thought, is he faking it? But like, I don't even know if that's faking it. Anyone in the world's could have knee soreness, I guess. But I don't know, man. Just the way that he's operating, it just seems super sketchy. And I think it sends a terrible message to the locker room. I don't know, man. I think that's odd. I think we have Pop back here. So, Pop, can you hear us? No, maybe. Pop?
Hey now, I'm sure how good the signal is if it's holding out or whatever, but if I don't get back on the show, I'll happy holidays to the coffee club. Sorry for the bad signal. So,
okay. Yes, for that reason, Pop, I'll put you down because I do not put you down like that. I'll eventually pry that torch out of your dead cold fingers for sure and be the top Esden baby. But no, it looks like we do have a massive delay in our signal, so I guess we'll cut it off there, Pop, unfortunately. Enjoy our Hop on Pop shows. Unfortunately, it looks like Pop signal is not going to be with us for that. I'll try one more time actually to see if we could get Pop back up here, and we'll see if we can do this for you, Pop. There is one more. We're going to attempt to do this. There's one more. I didn't write an article about this, but this sort of scared the bleep out of me. So I want to see if it does for you too. Yesterday, the Jets worked out a bunch of players. I'm going to throw this up on the screen. This is from ESPN's Rich Samini. The Jets worked out 4 kickers, a punter, and a long snapper. Now, you have to ask yourself, what's the motivation of the Jets doing these things? Whoa. We got Nick Folk. We've got Austin McNamara. We got Thomas Hennessy. We got like the greatest special teams unit of all time. Why the hell are we working out kickers, punters, and long snappers? Did someone get hit by a bus? Like, this started scaring the crap out of me. So Pop will try to see if we could get one more story here with you. Like, explain to me, what is the reason for this? Should Jet fans be nervous about whatever all these workouts are about? Because I don't think I saw Nick Folk, McNamara, or even Thomas Hennessy on the injury report.
Yeah, it's very odd. And I mean, at this part of the season, especially where the Jets are at, I mean, if they're on the edge of playoff contention, trying to put the best, athletes on the field in the position to win, but it's very confusing. And I'm not sure I'm not sure what they're doing. You're not saving. Must be some hidden injury or something they're seeing just to shore up the back end, but it's very odd.
By the way, your signal is better than ever before. Your response time on that one was fixed. So I don't know whatever you're doing, but stay exactly where you are. That seems to be fixed. There were a comment. I saw it briefly. I don't know who that is, but I did see a comment that, Austin McNamara is under team control for the foreseeable future, but Nick Folk is a free agent. Thomas Hennessy is under contract for the foreseeable future. So maybe it's a forward-thinking thing, right? Being ready just in case. You work someone out, you're like, wow, not bad. Throw them on the 90-man roster eventually, right? There is no 90-man roster now. Throw them on the practice squad. You go through, you have the reserve future contracts that are doled out in January. And if there's a kicker that shows some level of interest, what does it hurt to have an extra guy there as Nick Folk figures out his future? That could be something I saw in the comment section.
Yeah, and really, maybe it's more the forward thinking where is you're re-signing the backup offensive lineman, right? Normally you'd be like, this is pathetic, or no, we're taking an opportunity to get ahead of things. So it's if that's what this is, if this is looking to the future of the kickers, that these players would be available, that's great. I thinking Justin Fields was the solution. Most of the
it could be. Pop, one more quick thing. We'll see if you can comment on this. I said it while you were sort of breaking up and disappearing there, but I plan on prying the torch out of your dead cold fingers at some point. Is it now? Is it kind of, can I wrestle that away right now?
Yeah. If that's what you want to do to miss you're gone, as you're trying to realize that you're getting choked out. So now is not the time. And I can't believe you flexed there. That was embarrassing.
Well, I don't know. If you watched that Jake Paul thing last night, I want to give you a broken jaw and a couple of sides. I don't know if you want some of the. I don't know if you want some of this business, huh? A little bit of this, huh?
Yeah, you look a lot like Joe Dirt. I got a mic and I got a backup. You're like reenacting. Our 15-second fight, we'd bill it into like 3-second rounds because that's how long you'd last.
I don't know. Might have to throw a challenge flag on that one. But something else I can throw out is T-Town Jet, baby. And another membership being gifted here, which we appreciate. Keep those memberships flowing. We're going to highlight a couple of activities we have coming here on the show with our raffles and everything else that we have cooking here on the program. So we'll do that here shortly on the show. Actually, as I'm about to read that new member to the Boy Green Coffee Club, which should be coming up here in just a second. Sorry for any technical difficulties we're having here on the program, folks. That membership went to... I think I have it here somewhere. Perhaps not. All right. I'll let you guys know when I'm able to fix that issue over there on YouTube. But thank you, T-Town Jet. You did get yourself a raffle ticket for our contest. So thank you kindly. We'll add that to our totals because, like I said, throughout the rest of the month, I can't believe we're only 5 days from Christmas. So that is coming up. T-Town Jet, that's now 2 raffle tickets for our contest. So thank you very much. We are only 5 days from Christmas, so it makes sense to be in the festive mood here for everything that we have cooking here on the program. And that festivity includes our raffle, which we do every single month here on the channel. We're doing the New York Jet Santa Funko Pop. Very nice. That's festive. We have the Nick Mangold tribute shirt as well. I'll throw that up on your screen here. On the program. Here it is. And thank you, T-Town Jet, by the way. Thank you for that membership coming through. Here's a Nick Mangold tribute shirt. True Jet 74. Nick Mangold represented. Unfortunately, lost him way too soon. And this is a cool way to honor him. This tribute shirt, which I bought from the New York Jets, that money went to the National Kidney Foundation, which, of course, is a absolutely wonderful cause. We'll have our Boy Green Woody tailgate package as well being sent over. It's been cool. Again, I want to give a shout out to Johnny Boy, who's back at home after being in the hospital. He is the leader of our raffle ticket board because of all the raffle tickets that were donated to Johnny Boy, which is cool. So 57 raffle tickets for Johnny Boy for all the love. And hey, maybe he will be the lucky winner. We'll be giving that away on January 1st. So raffle tickets throughout the month of December will continue to be accepted, whether that's yourself or whether or not that ends up being Johnny Boy or anyone out there in the universe. So a fun little raffle here for the rest of the month, Pop.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately lost Nick Mangold actually to kidney disease. And actually it was a year ago yesterday that we lost your grandmother to the same
Wow.
disease, kidney disease. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, but I'm glad to hear Johnny Boy's doing better. We're all thinking of you, and hopefully you're getting some bacon. And Johnny, that's out to you, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes, I'm sure he does. So a big salute to Johnny Boy as well. It seems like your signal has recovered, Pop. So we will progress forward here. It's better than it's ever been. So how about this? We'll take a handful of phone calls before we wrap up the show because we're going to have a massive amount of content coming up on the program tomorrow. We'll have our pregame show, the live watch party, the postgame show, and talk Jets Saints. Actually, before we go to the phone lines, real quick, Jets Saints. Saints are 4.5-point favorite against the Jets. They're projected in every analytical category to beat the Jets. The Saints are hot. They've won 2 in a row and 3 of 5. That includes sweeping the 7-7 Panthers, who are fighting for the division, and the Buccaneers, who are also fighting the division. Those are their 3 wins over the last 5 games. So not only have they won games, but they've won quality games, which has been very impressive there for New Orleans. How do you see this game playing out? Do the Jets lose? Do the Jets win? Some of the fans want them to lose for the better draft positioning. Other fans want them to win. Where do you stand on all that?
Yeah, I would play to win. You play to win the game. However, I would say the Saints are showing signs of being not as bad as we thought they were, and the Jets are showing no signs of life at all. So I unfortunately think the Jets will lose this game. Fortunately, the Jets will lose this game. I see the Saints beating them. And the Saints are a better team. The Jets are banged up and a confused organization, at least with the team they're putting on the field now. I think they are looking to the future and making the right decisions. But right now, it's just a train wreck. And I think the Jets lose, and hopefully they don't lose big.
Last thing here before we go to the fans, the Jets fired Steve Wilks earlier this week. They've replaced him with Chris Harris for the final 3 games of the season. This will be his first time calling plays outside of the preseason. He did serve as the quasi defensive coordinator. It's a cool thing that some coaches do where they give their lower level members of the staff opportunities to fill in bigger roles, which I love. That's a super cool thing that AG did, and I know the Senior Bowl has done that the last couple of years. Or like Ron Middleton, the Jets tight end coach, at one point was a head coach of the Senior Bowl. So that was or for his representative side of the Senior Bowl, which was cool. So I love that they do stuff like that. What do you make of the Jets firing Steve Wilks in the middle of the season with still 3 games left to go? And then the opportunity Chris Harris has to maybe win the job full time.
Yeah, so I think it's an exciting opportunity for Chris Harris. And hopefully that's the case. I don't know if you remember this, probably about a decade ago, I was telling you about how management and leadership works, right? So if the players are playing badly, then you coach them up and you hold them accountable, right? And eventually, if the players aren't getting it done, eventually it's not the players' fault anymore. It's the position coach's fault. And then if they continue to do badly, then it's the coordinator's fault. And then if they continue to do badly, eventually it's Aaron Glenn's fault. And so I say all that to say this. It was clearly Steve Wilks' fault. I believe that Aaron Glenn recognized, he was like, his spidey sense, like, what? What's it? Let's go. Huh, huh, wait a minute. It's my fault? Well, it can't possibly be my fault. Steve Wilks, the tribe has spoken. So, no, it makes a lot of sense. I think it was too late. I think, and he should have known, right? He got hired because it was looked on as a quality, one of the best in the NFL defensive coordinators, right? He did, with bubble gum and duct tape, he managed to piece that Detroit Lions defense together when they were decimated by injuries, right? That's why he has his job. So that's not his job now. However, right, if there was one side of the ball or another that he should be able to influence and see that there are problems and help course correct them, it does speak a little bit to his depth and ability to provide oversight of the whole organization. So that is actually concerning moving forward with Aaron Glenn, that he didn't act quicker or have the ability to influence behaviors, right? He should have been able to influence Steve Wilks' behavior. He should have leaned, unlike when Robert Saleh leaned into the offense. Aaron Glenn, that hurts. Aaron Glenn should have been able to Steve Wilks. Not get in the media and say about it. Sit in the meetings, sit down with him, have meetings at night. And if he did, kudos to him in that we don't know about it. But if he didn't, that's your sign of danger for the future for the Jets.
I think it's a fine line. It's an interesting conversation because, right, so the Jets had 3 openings, of course, in their coordinator. Aaron Glenn gets hired. Now, who's your staff, Aaron Glenn? He takes a swing on Chris Banjo, a guy who's never been a coordinator before, but he's a young guy, had played in the league a long time. He had high recommendations. AG goes, Chris Banjo, I take the swing. Okay, cool. Chris Banjo's never done it before. Tanner Engstrand's never called plays at the NFL level before. Swings big. Tanner Engstrand, you're my offensive coordinator. All right, Steve Wilks, tried and true. You've basically been a defensive coordinator for 30 years. You've either been a head coach, an interim head coach, or a coordinator for like all of the last 30 years, with slight exceptions where he's been a positional guy or assistant head coach or some of these other roles. So he thought, I assume, if I'm AG, I thought that was on lock and key. I'm not calling the plays. He's good. He's going to have that figured out, and I will, as the CEO guy, I'm going to keep my hand in a lot of different pots here. And I think as soon as it started, as it was getting out of hand, I think I'm just speculating here. Oh, Wilks is going to figure it out. He's done this forever. Oh, wow. He's not figuring this out. And then he's like, okay, well, now what do I do? So, like, this season is not going in the direction we want. If I just let Steve Wilks sort of keep going here, he gets pushed in front of a bus. It's self-preservation. It's me or him. I'm not dying for this guy. I didn't even know this guy before I hired him outside of whatever I knew in the hiring process. So let Steve Wilks dive on the sword, and then I give myself, AG, an opportunity to pick somebody else to get the job right. Because, like, at a certain point, this is what I said why I was surprised that AG fired Wilks with season left to go is if he took it over from Steve Wilks and it was immediately a success, AG would get shit for not doing it sooner. If he took it over and it was the same or worse, Jesus, this guy isn't this defensive genius everyone said he was. So I thought it was double bad. The only silver lining good was Chris Harris getting a shot. And we talked about that before the thing happened. Like, oh, if someone gets a chance to sort of show it, that's a nice little audition for the final 3 games of the season. But for the most part, I thought, everyone's selfish. It's a self-preservation world. If I can shove someone else to further myself, I'm going to do that. And a lot of people would do that too.
Yeah. So I look at it a little differently. I would tell you that he didn't have to take over the defense to show his ass. He showed his ass by allowing it to continue to spiral. I will tell you, I've ran an organization. The structure is very similar to an NFL team where I had, the coordinator positions underneath me that were in charge of different departments, special team department, offense, defense department. And if I had inklings of gaps and failures and things were happening in one of my departments, I go, he's going to figure it out. That's not how, I was like, hey, man, let's go. My office, explain to me how that shit show against the Cowboys is not going to – what are you doing to change what happened? And I don't think Aaron Glenn is that person. And that's what you need out of a head coach. And by the way, you're the Jolly Green Giant, your buddy there. I would be bringing him in my office too. By the way, how in the name of fucking God do we not throw Garrett Wilson the ball more than once into 2.5 quarters of football? You're showing our ass. What's going on? So Aaron Glenn has got a lot of piss and vinegar for the reporters and everyone else. I wish he'd show it a little more with his coaching staff.
Touche. And like I said, we'll see. He's going to get that chance again. Aaron Glenn, spoiler alert, is not going to get fired. So despite that, I don't even call it a report. It was speculation. Mike Florio says, I still think there's a chance that Aaron Glenn is one and done. I totally don't think so. Woody Johnson gave a public vote of confidence 2 months ago. And the bigger public vote of confidence to me came a month ago-ish, which was the trade deadline. If I'm Woody Johnson, and I think there's even a hint of me going, fuck this AG guy, you're getting fired, I'm not letting him trade Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams to make these seismic decisions for my franchise that's going to set up the next decade. Hell no. Yeah, because on any of these kind of moves, you need owner approval. And the Colts side, we heard from them, they needed owner approval even to go to their point. So when AG came to Woody Johnson's office, say, hey, we want to trade Sauce and Quentin, here's what it looks like. He's like, yeah, fuck you, buddy. Go back to your office. That's not fucking happening. He could have done that. So that's what I think. There was a literal public vote of confidence. Woody would look like an idiot to come out and say, AG's my guy. I hug him every day and all this other bullshit, and then turn around and fire him months later. That would look really bad. But the second part of it is the indirect vote of confidence that gave when all those trades happened at the deadline. That doesn't happen if the guy's any chance of getting fired after 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. The Jets hired, what is it, the 33rd man, whatever, the 12th man,
33rd team.
33rd team, right? Because the moment you hire a head coach, you have set the Jello molds, right? And so you are going all in. You have where the organization is going to succeed, or we've set ourselves 3 years back. And here's what I mean, right? Okay. So you're at this point, right? I'm sure Woody at some point, this is not playing out how I envisioned it was going to turn out. And right, because to me, and this is it. You're either like, I'm going to continue the course. I'm going to stay the course on this, right? Aaron Glenn is the guy. I'm having conversations. He's convinced me he's the guy. Or you immediately pull the ripcord and you're like, you know what? Wrong decision. Because again, now you're going to give him another year. And how long into next year is it going to be okay that the Jets continue to suck? You're like, how's this working out? So the problem is when you hire a head coach, that's why it's so pivotal, right? Because you're making a future decision that right now, if you fired Aaron Glenn, you've already set yourself back at least a year, because now the next guy's at least going to get a year, and then it just builds on itself. And so I would tell you that I believe because of the decision they made to hire Aaron Glenn, I think it's the right one to keep him. But I would tell you, if we're sitting here, 10 months from now, and the Jets are 0-6 or, 1-7 or whatever the case is, I would tell you what, that hook coming in, like Aaron Glenn's at a press conference, yeah, screw your reports. What the hell? Right? I would tell you that he wouldn't make it through next year if it looks like this year, because you can't. Because you just can't.
Let's so here's, we're going to call an audible at the line of scrimmage here because of your signal is great right now, Pop. It's perfect. But you know what? It's better, Barry Sanders, right? He played all his years in the league, Pro Bowler every year, was great. He just retired at the top. Some people hang on too long. So what we'll do here is I'll have a final topic matter, and we won't open up the phone lines today. Sorry, everybody, but with the inconsistency potentially of the signal and all the drama that could cause, what we'll do is explore one more topic, and then, like I said, we'll make it up tomorrow with 6 hours of live streaming. So we'll make it up tomorrow. The question is this, Pop. So we just saw yesterday the college football playoff began. So sorry. So all action started. And there's a lot of this quarterback conversation. The Jets, if they lose out, they have like it's ridiculous. It's like 78% chance of getting a top 3 pick. They also have an outside shot of getting the number 1 overall pick themselves. Obviously, they need to lose out and they need a lot of help for that to happen. The question is this, and you've explored it in the past, but it's going to keep coming up. Whether or not the Jets should explore trading up for a quarterback if they believe he's the guy. We did a show this week that the Jets, according to one insider, are quote-unquote smitten, which again is a good wordplay. And quick detour in the middle of my detour. I got to explain that story to someone. I can't remember who I told it to, but I said, me and my dad, one of the things we do, I've never said it out loud, but it's just always happened, is we have this like, wow, that word doesn't get enough play. Like a word that one of us will just say and just sort of make our word of the day. We're like, smitten. That word doesn't get enough play. And we hear it in there. And I just told that story to someone for the first time in my life. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I've never said that to someone. It's just always sort of existed with me and my old man here. But an insider believes that the Jets are smitten with one, Fernando Mendoza. And so we asked this to you, Pop. Would you, if you're the Jets, entertain trading up if you finish with the top 3 pick, which it looks like the Jets are heading that direction? Because if they don't beat New Orleans, that feels like the last one that maybe they could win. Again, I'd love to beat Buffalo or New England. That'd be awesome, and play spoiler with whatever the hell they're trying to do. That'd be cool. But it seems unlikely based on how the first 2 games went and where the Jets are from an injury perspective. If you're at 3, would you be willing to trade up to number 1 to get a quarterback some suggesting Fernando.
Yeah, I would keep all the options on the table. I'd have to really be confident that because right, there's no going back, right? I mean, and I think as long as it fell under the draft calculator, the points, beep, 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 right, and it made sense to not don't go crazy, don't Mike Ditka the draft, if you know what I'm saying.
Ricky Williams.
Right. If I'm not giving up my whole draft for Mendoza, right? But if it makes sense and you think he's the guy, I'm not opposed to it. But it's a risk. It's a risk, right? So ask yourself this question. I was going to make this whole thing, but I will just tell you that when you get a quarterback, we have to focus on developing him. We can't cut bait. The NFL is littered with ex-Jets quarterbacks that are starting and have become Pro Bowlers. Sam Darnold has more wins in the past 2 seasons than the Jets have had in the past 6. Think about that. Think about it. He's had 24 wins, and this season's not even over yet. He's had 24 wins in the past 2 seasons. How many years back do you have to go to add up that?
I believe he has 26 wins, as a matter of fact. They were a 14-win Vikings team last year. They're a 12-win Seattle team right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So how many years do you have to go with that? So the quarterback it's crucial to get the quarterback. It's crucial to develop the quarterback. And so the Jets have drafted good quarterbacks. Zach is not good. But the Jets have drafted some good quarterbacks. And then it's the ability to take them and develop them, right? We need to stop retreading the tires and buy our own brand new tire and then drive over the AFC East. So I think if Mendoza, we believe, is the right guy, then within reason, get to that 3,000 points to move up to the number 1 pick.
All right, we'll end here, okay? I'm going to put a metaphorical gun on the table, okay? And you tell me which way you'd rather die with it, okay? Because there's 2 paths for the Jets, potentially, if it goes wrong. The Jets could trade up for a quarterback and it misses. That's happened a bunch for the Jets, and it doesn't work out. But they swung big, but they missed. Arthur Smith, the guy I keep bringing up in Atlanta, he had 3 years in Atlanta. He never took the swing on a quarterback, but he kept building up the rest of the roster. He got fired. He had the same result that a lot of these Jets coaches have had, who've attempted to swing big and then miss and then get fired, or never swing big and still get fired because, you weren't winning enough games as you were doing your alternative strategy. So what's the preferred way of death if you have to pick one or the other?
Yeah, and I would say that I think the Jets have already, right, Robert Saleh has already paid that ticket, right? The bill came, all right, sir, you ate your steak dinner. Here's the bill, right? And the bill, he paid that bill by building up the team, right? And, they try to do other things, but what they're really doing, that offensive line, right, has been built. Like they have Garrett Wilson, some of the pieces that they've already let leave, but, right, you did some of that building, right? And there's a lot of building left, but still to do mainly on the defense, right? The offensive line is good. We need a wide receiver too. We need to figure out what we want to do with running back. But if Breece Hall left yesterday, the future is not bleak for the New York Jets at running back. They still have 2 competent running backs. So it's really on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Robert Saleh jumped in front of the bus for Aaron Glenn. I got this, buddy. Right. And so they built up some of the team. Obviously, the defense needs a lot of work. And the difference of not having a viable second option that's not your tight end in the offense and the wide receiver can't go overlooked. And we talked about that 6, 7, 8, 10 months ago, the need for the second. It'll be fine. It wasn't fine. It wasn't fine. So I think moving forward with the quarterback, opportunities exist through the draft to shore up that defense. And as long as you don't overpay, they got plenty of draft picks. And I would tell you what, and I know this would make some of the people along, especially Alon, I use 2027 capital in 2026. Let's stop talking about, well, we'll wait. And in 2027, it's really going to pay off, right? Pay off now. If you get rid of some of that first round capital in 2027 to help you today, do it. The misery has got to stop.
I agree. And now I've just realized how vivid and disturbing my gun references of killing yourself. So let's switch it to baseball, right? You're at the plate, the bat's on your shoulder. Does the bat ever come off your shoulder and you strike out? Or do you swing wildly? You could still strike out. So for me, I want the Jets to go out on the sword. And it doesn't, again, I only want to do 2026 if it's true that the Jets are smitten with Fernando. Then that's your swing. You believe he's the guy. Oh, I don't give a shit what anyone else in the universe thinks. If you think that he's the guy, then you grab that bat off your shoulder and you fucking swing that thing with everything. You torque your body. You uncork it. You lay everything into it. And if you miss, so be it. I'll live and die by that. But if you don't pick up the bat off the shoulder, you're like, I don't know, maybe, possibly. Like that's where you lose me. So it sounds like they are, but it's just some random insider saying it. I'm sure the Jets aren't trumpeting. We're smitten with Fernando. I'm sure that's not going out there in the universe. So we'll see if it's actually true. But again, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, because drafting a quarterback in the first round is already saying that you're not going to be successful until 2027 for the most part. For the most part, seldom do rookie quarterbacks, and we already talked about we don't really want them on the field in 2026 if we draft it, right? And so if you let Aaron Glenn draft Mendoza, then really you're saying Aaron Glenn's going to be hanging out unless shy of all the wheels falling off simultaneously, he's going to be around to 2027. But Mendoza's it. It's Mendoza or a bust for Aaron Glenn. If they draft him and it does not play out, his seat will not be hot. It'll be molten lava.
Yeah, I would. So I've been a strong advocate of what you just said, and then we'll wrap up the show. I've been a strong advocate of man, you know what? The Jets have fucked up the same way with these quarterbacks of seemingly putting them out too early, and then they get effed, and then it's too late. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And I've been a strong advocate of that. All right, if zig hasn't worked, how about a zag? Can we fucking zag once and just if we fail that way, at least we mixed it up. But the more we've sort of progressed along here, that if the Jets' offensive line is as good as I think it is, again, it has not been perfect. I don't want to pretend it has been. There have been blips on the radar. Maybe I wouldn't hate Fernando eventually getting on the field because if the Jets, the situations I don't prefer are the ones where, again, your offensive line is shitty and then you put your quarterback out there and then he gets scarred for life. But if your offensive line is halfway decent, your defense can be super shitty, but that doesn't necessarily affect a rookie quarterback. He can be successful. The defense can be shitty. Those can be two things that exist mutually at the same time.
Yeah. So just this, if I put this whole quarterback thing in a box,
yeah,
right. I draft a quarterback using the draft capital. I get the quarterback I want. Right, I sit him behind the veteran quarterback that I acquire, whoever that is. And contrary to what people think, I would take Kyler Murray as long as Arizona's picking up the check, if you will. Right. So, and there's other ones out there that are available. Right. 2026 is not going to be pretty. Right. However you slice or dice it. Kyler Murray could come in and have a career resurgence. The Jets go, 10-7 and make the wild card. That could happen, right? But beyond that, it's not Super Bowl next year. So it's setting up, and that's the realistic expectations Jets fans need. So they 100% need to get a veteran quarterback. And I was poo-pooing it earlier in the year. It cannot be Tyrod Taylor. He cannot, right? Because I just looked at him just now, and he just tore his hamstring. So, it just can't be him.
All right, Pop, finish us off here. We're 5 days from Christmas. By the next time we speak in video show form, will be after post-Christmas. So any final words here for a shortened version of Boy Green Daily? Again, we'll make it up to everybody with 6 hours of live streaming tomorrow with all our Jet Saints coverage.
Yeah, I think, Christmas to me is the OG in Thanksgivings. It's the opportunity to reflect back how blessed you are and why you have been blessed. And I won't get too religious here, but anyone knows, what I'm talking about. So I would share with you that being on this show with the family and everything else, that I am truly blessed. And I'm just happy Can't believe how blessed I am, and definitely undeserving. So I hope everybody has a great holiday season to be with your family and enjoy, because there's nothing more important.
That is absolutely the case. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the episode today for Boy Green Daily with me and my Pop. Again, we'll be back I will be back tomorrow. Maybe I'm sure Pop will pop in randomly through some of the coverage tomorrow. But I hope you guys can all tune in for that, for the Jets Saints. Happy holidays. More stuff coming up. Stay tuned on YouTube for our YouTube shorts on the latest Jets news, nuggets, and rumors. We'll have articles coming out. And again, we've got a full day of coverage coming up on the show tomorrow with our pregame show, live watch party, and play-by-play analysis, plus the postgame show with absolutely massive action happening as well. So that's going to be great. Pop, appreciate you.
All right. God bless. Merry Christmas, Coffee Club.
There we go. God blesses everyone. We'll see.